Bounce with me. Bounce with me. You know the vibes. I'm feeling good. We're talking marriage today.
Okay.
You know, I only get 15 seconds, then they cut us off. Welcome, everybody, to episode 31 of For Better Best Podcast. It's your boy, Charles Beloved, and I'm here with my amazing, intelligent, thoughtful.
Yes, I agree.
Brother Marcus Cromartie is in the building. Okay, so you're so keen.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I got back up today.
Yes.
I got back up today. You might want to turn that volume down. No. Shireen is here too.
And Crow's wife is here too. His wife is here too.
We never gonna forget about you, baby. You know that.
So I'm gonna pass to her to intro our guest. We're really excited. We have our first married couple on For Better or Best Podcast. This is our gang. You go ahead, get us started, then I'm gonna jump back in.
Yes, so we are here with our family, our friends. Jessica, she is a content creator. She's a mom. She's a lifestyle creator. You might know her from her brand, Hey Gorgeous.
Or Gorgeous Fit.
And you can find her on Instagram at Hey Gorgeous.
Yes.
And then we're here with her handsome husband.
Thank you.
Look at him smiling. Oh my God.
I want you to give me the line up that Charles was about to give you.
I knew you were gonna. That's what Justin. We're here with former NFL player,
retired NFL player.
Yes. I like that.
Made it.
Dad, super dad, Marcus Cromartie.
Thank you.
Let's give it up. Woo!
Super agent too. Don't forget
super
that.
agent. I didn't know if we could say agent.
Thank you.
Agent in the building.
I was about to say I tiptoe on people's jobs sometimes because they don't be wanting to put it out there. But yes, he is also an agent.
Yes.
But yes, we have been friends with y'all for what, 5?
I mean, just obviously longer.
Like,
so we got to go all the way back. That was wild. So we got to set the context
For sure.
before we get into it.
So you met Jess?
Yes, I met Jessica in New York City.
Yes.
Right as she was getting ready. I know.
realize
This is
that.
why I said we're going to talk about it.
And this through Scotty Bean.
Yeah, right as she was getting ready to move to LA, they both pull up to some. I was just hanging out at 40. Wow.
So she was outside.
I was listen. We was at 40. And this is when I start maybe getting some influential friends. Like, obviously, Scotty Bean was my girl. And then she brought Jess with her. And I was like trolling like Scotty Bean's follower account. And she was like, I had already talked to Jess, everything, just sweet person. And she was like, oh, she's the real influencer. I was like, what? And I go look at her follows, multiple hundreds of thousands. I was like, oh, shit, I didn't know she was popping. But like, that really just speaks to your personality. Like, you could have been arrogant when you first met me. I was, I don't want to say I was a nobody, but I was just a regular dude, good energy, obviously.
I'm going to tell you, to this day, I'll go through the airport and somebody's like, oh, aren't you Hey Gorgeous husband? I'm like, Hey Gorgeous husband? Don't you know I played in the NFL?
You Hey Gorgeous husband to me.
No, literally.
And so, just met her. Then you moved to California, and I was telling, we were living in the Bay.
You were thinking about it.
And then I went back and we were thinking about moving to LA, and I was like, yo, this girl, you're gonna like her. And Shireen, y'all know Shireen. Oh, whatever.
I was like, friend, you should meet her.
I was like, you should meet her.
Okay, Charles.
Y'all gonna love each other. 5 years later,
we do love each other.
She introduced us to Renee.
I know, we talk way more. He's like, why are you guys always doing dinner without us?
Yes, they become the girl clique. In the ebbs, I don't want to say ebbs and flows, but in the like maturation of friendships over a long period of time, like we have been with single Jess, then we had Jess with a boyfriend, into Jess as a wife, into married with children, mom Jess. You know what I'm saying? And when people get added to these formulas, sometimes the relationship can shift.
That's true.
But she got a partner that the day I met him, I was like, I really like this ninja.
I know.
He's a ninja. And I'm like, and this has become my brother.
I was really hoping that. Like, I remember when I told you that I was dating him or like whatever it was, I was like, you have to meet him because like I want you guys to like him. I want it to click. And that was always like my vision for like, my husband and friends to all hang out. So the fact that we clicked so well was like great.
And then Marcus, you had this girlfriend who had this friend group that was women, but also a lot of men too. Yeah. And I felt like you came in very confident. I have dated people who might not have liked that their girlfriend had these male friends. Because, yes, you were my friend, but you had your own relationship with Charles. You would text him independently. So I felt like how did you feel coming into like our friend group? Because we adopted you.
For sure. I think for me, I just had to be myself. I know how me and Charles got along so well because Charles is from Chicago. I'm from New Orleans. Like, we both had came up, you know, insurmountable odds and to get to where we are. And so we just hit it off immediately. Yeah. And again, when I met Jess, we was friends first. You know, this is something that we were just trying to grow organically, and we'll get into that. But before we ever were super romantically involved, I made it an emphasis just to be friends first. And so, you know, me being around her friends, and we all just hanging out as friends, everything just naturally connected. And we, like I said, we came from similar backgrounds, and it just became a brotherhood just from the start, man.
Literally from the start. Like his friends adopted me, and they're literally my core friend group. And that's like that's not something that typically happens.
It's almost like we've been knowing each other since college. I feel like we're like the college friendship, almost like, you know, like this is Insecure. We always laugh. We're like, this is like another episode of Insecure.
Or like the best man or something. We always talk about their like friendships in college. It really feels like that. So, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better, just core group of friends. Yeah, truly a blessing, because it's really hard to find, especially at this age. You know?
Yeah. So before we get into relationship stuff, like, I want to talk about you guys' careers, because these are two very extremely accomplished people in their own right. So we're going to start with Jess. Like, obviously, you one of the early curl fluencers. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm going to go. No, I'm in my bag. I'm going to go get a picture when we had the big curls. You know what I mean? We're going to drop it on. And she was part of the curl influencer era. And then obviously you had a strong audience. And not only have I, as like your friend, seen this development of yours, like your audience has also seen that development of yours. So talk to me, about like being in the field that you're in, and then bringing not only your audience, but the brands along with your shift in your life trajectory.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started honestly when Instagram first launched, basically, like within the first year or two.
Wow.
And so at that time, the natural hair movement was huge. So everyone was doing the big chop and going natural. And I had been natural for me like 4 years already since I had cut out my relaxer. So I was just organically posting my hair and living in New York at the time. Or first I was in Jersey, but then I moved to New York. There were so many like curly hair events and like it was just a community of women. So it was really easy to build my following that way. But then eventually I felt like I was getting boxed in and I was only getting curly hair deals. And I was like, I want to be like, you know, posting my travels and my fashion and, you know, lifestyle stuff. I want to get deals for everything. So then I intentionally stopped wearing my hair curly. I straightened it all the time for at least a year.
Your followers had something to say about that.
They did.
That's what I'm talking
They're
about.
like, I like curly hair, Jess, you know?
Like the personality change.
For sure. You sold out.
Yes. I think some people did think that, and that was not.
Gentrified your look.
No, I feel like some people did say that, especially when I moved to LA too, and my hair was straight. They're like, "Oh, now that you're in LA," I was like, "I've been wearing my hair straight for like a year now."
They was like, "Oh, you got influenced by LA, huh?"
And so that was super intentional because I wanted people to pay attention to like my clothes and like you know other things I was posting. And I did notice that my following did drop a little bit, my engagement dropped, but then I replaced, or my followers were replaced with different followers with my new demographic.
Wow.
And so that has been, I'm so glad I did that because I've been able to continuously evolve as, just like moving to LA, then to dating and like started posting him. Everyone loved that. Then to getting engaged and getting married and having a baby. And I do notice that each time like I have a new milestone, I will lose more followers. Like when I posted my pregnancy announcement, I lost like 2,000 followers.
Well, ain't nobody trying to see that here. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, we still,
you lost your sex appeal.
I'm trying to do this. Listen. Obviously, us as people who have gone through our partners, like this is the most beautiful thing you will ever see. But as a scroller, I gotta put my scroller hat on.
You're like, I'm not interested in
that. I didn't say
She out the game. She out the game. Not when you got married, but when you got married.
They're like, now she really out the game. She ain't coming back.
They gave you grace with this one when you married this one. It's like, I'll still
No, it's true. You can see the demographic, like the men and women. Now it's like literally 90% women. It's crazy. No, it's so true. But the great thing about that is like you lose the followers that aren't going to engage and you gain the followers that are going to engage. And, it's just, it's been great. It's been great for my career. And now I do like a lot of deals for mommy deals and stuff. So
and I would say, like, obviously you had some big moments with the curls and all of that, but like the virality of your family content, like it is, you're constantly like, oh, I'm one of the first followers. Anything Jess posts is the first thing I see, obviously. So I like, comment, do my troll, move on. Next thing, 25 million views. I'm like, wait, what?
Y'all ended up on Shade Room.
Like, it's absolutely incredible.
Like viral, I think.
Yeah, and 90% of that, because I'm getting to the Shade Room, 90% of that is love, positive. You know what I mean? We are fully support. It's beautiful family pictures. Then you got that 10% that just don't know you. And then you're talking children involved. You know, you got people like me that's ready to fight. But like, how do you have thick skin and like people making off the cuff commentary who don't know you?
Honestly, I would ask Marcus that question because this is her job, right? She's been doing this, so you've had to build up the thick skin. But Marcus, you coming in to this woman you love, this is now her job. That's how she makes money, and now you like, now my life is on display.
Absolutely. I mean, I was a little more experienced about hecklers because when I play in the professional sports world, I would get guys who'd be like, "You suck. You should kill yourself." All these things. People are nuts. They're crazy. And a lot of times, people just don't know you. So I told Jess when we got married, I said it's us against the world. And it's literally us against the world in terms of what we have in our household is protected. And we know what's true and what's false, and we stick on that. And the one thing about Jess that I applaud her so much is she doesn't lead as an influencer. She leads as herself, and that influences people around her. She's a trendsetter, and that's why.
Look at that man talk! Yo, Orlando, you hearing this? He came to speak today.
You know, and I'm saying that because she'll have a vision, a thought, like, we should do this video, we should shoot this content, and I'll be like, oh, okay, you know me, I'm like, oh, again, and it'll go super viral, or she'll be able to get a deal from it or whatever, and she's poured so much into our household that it's just like, yo, like, sometimes I just sit back and I be like, what should we do in terms of like this content?
Cook it up,
we need
cook it up. He's being a little humble. I would say there are a few viral or like videos that have done well that were his idea, though. I will say that.
You know, I play my part as a creative director sometimes. You know, I like to say I'm the creative director.
I would say maybe like 5%.
And she'll say, "You think I should post it?" I say, "Yes," because this is what it is.
Because sometimes I definitely get the imposter syndrome, even now being in it like 12, 14 years in the game. I don't even know. Sometimes I'm still like, oh, I don't know, you know, and I don't know if I'm going to feel judged or if people are going to like it. He's like, just post it, and then it'll do well, you know?
Right, because a lot of times people use Instagram as a highlight reel, and you use it as a place to be vulnerable as well. Like, you don't worry. And I tell you, like, look, people are going to do things and they're going to say things about you because they're afraid to do the same.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And, you know, you have to just lead with what you think is correct. And like I said, the people in that household will protect you.
Yeah.
And we're always going to be by your side.
And your real friends know you.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. So that was a great opening. You all give it up for them. They came here ready. This is their first podcast. They sound like they've been doing it for years. It sound like they're trying to take our job.
Y'all are naturals.
Let me tell you, Charles. My anniversary is this week, so I'm trying to say everything now.
You got the verbal gifts today, Jess.
Right. Words of affirmation.
But to pivot to Crow, who is literally, in my friend group, one of the most accomplished. Like, you made it to the NFL.
Right.
Which is, I mean, the percentage level of people that actually are able to accomplish that is so minimal. So to be in that select number, like, for the people out there that are following their passion, like, what did it look like for you to have the drive and determination to literally accomplish your dreams?
Well, I think for one, you have to be focused. And we talked about this before we even started filming. It was like, you got to be single track minded, and you got to remove things that's going to hinder you and accomplish your goals, whatever that may be. And I feel like you have to wake up and you got to think about your dream. You got to wake and you got to go to sleep and you got to think about your dream, and you got to just remove things that's going to stop you from reaching that. And I know that sounds simple, but when I was on my way to the NFL, all I thought about was what I needed to do to get there. And then once I got there, is what I need to do to stay there.
Yeah.
And you just take it one day at a time. And, you know, I tell Jess this all the time. I said, there's a Bible verse, and I know I'm going to butcher it. It's like, don't worry about the things of tomorrow when today has enough problems of his own.
Amen.
And so just every day you wake up, just say, I'm going to make the best day I possibly can make. And then the next morning, do the same thing. And then you're going to look back and be like, I accomplished all this, you know? And so just very, very much generic things, man. And and that's the same way I pivoted, you know, when it was like, okay, my NFL career is done. What's next? I took a whole year off just to kind of figure out what I want to do next. Lucky for me, it was the pandemic, so the whole world was going to taking time off, and then I went back and I got my master's from Indiana
secretly. I'm still salty.
Definitely seriously.
MBA.
Got my MBA, and then transitioned into sports management, and I had the same thought process as I did when I play. I'm gonna have the best day and be the best version of myself every day, and I'm gonna look where I landed. And so, to all the young people that's trying to accomplish their dreams, for one, I would say, why not you? Because a lot of times you look at yourself with imposter syndrome, you're like, man, like I'm not where I needed to be. If you look at all the most successful people in the world, they did it later in their career. So why not you? You know, it's never a bad time to start, and just take it one day at a time. One day at a time. So, that's my TED Talk. That's my beloved talk.
No, that's real beloved talk. Like, even for me, I started R&B House Party at 30.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't start at 22. Obviously, I had done it in college.
Crazy.
But, what I'm known for to, have sold the business, like, I did not start until I was 30.
And you're still evolving.
And I'm still evolving right now.
And that's what's so beautiful about it, because people get into this one track mindset. It's like, I got to do this for 10, 20 years. You might do it for 5 and be like, man, I can pivot and do this and be great at it. So never get stuck in being like, oh, I'm not where I need to be, or, I've been stuck in this position for a long time. It's never too late to change. You've been doing it. You've been evolving. You went from having a 9 to 5 to being an entrepreneur to contracting. It's so many different hats that you wore, and that at the time you had no experience doing it. But the best experience is going through it. Wow.
All right. We gonna have
did he chat GPT before this interview? I don't believe it, baby.
Come on, man.
Wow, people gonna say, "Hey, Gorgeous' husband actually got things." We need you on Instagram.
So y'all need another co-host?
All right, let's get into it.
So y'all have been super transparent about finding love on the apps. I feel like all my single friends, they're always like, "Shireen, hook me up with someone. How do I find someone?" And I always reference you. I'm like,
I know people that found love
on the app.
In the apps.
We sure did.
So this is for both of you, because obviously you didn't know each other when you went into this. Like, were you being intentional when you got on the apps? Were you kind of casually on the apps? Like, what was your thought process as you were? What do y'all do? Swipe, scroll?
Yeah, we never seen it. Well,
I think it's
Shireen saw. Shireen seen it before. She trying to act like she ain't know. You thought like, oh, what do you do? Swipe? No, I know you seen the app. I've never seen the app. I did a Bumble partnership, and it was Bumble BFF. So that was the only time I ever had even seen the app. So I don't know how it works. But
so the app,
I'm pretty sure it was. I honestly can't remember either, because I know Tinder swipe. We were on Hinge, and I think you get like likes in your DMs, kind of, and then you go through your likes, and
she's Queen Crow. You see, she's trying to act like she don't even remember.
That's a good answer. Vague enough when you don't know.
I don't remember at all. But okay, so what was your intentionality?
So we definitely had two different intentions in a way. So for me, I had many friends who had been on the app and like seriously dating on there. I had like been on it a few times, but never took it seriously. And so I was actually, our friend Chase, who just got married actually. She had this little book club. We weren't even that close. And I always think like, this is just how God works, because I feel like if I was never in this book club, I don't know if this would have happened. But I was in the book club with all these random girls I barely knew. And they're like, yeah, we're doing all these virtual dates from Hinge and blah, blah, blah. And, this is the beginning when no one was barely going to the grocery store. So I was like, all right, I'm bored. I'm going to go on some virtual dates, I guess. And they're like, do it. So I downloaded it. And then, within like the first weekend, he liked my photo. And he like sent a little message, and he was like, "Oh, what are you doing like in the living room, whatever?" Because like that's all.
It might have been so corny. I ain't gonna lie to you. It might have been so
a little
corny.
bit. It was like, "What are your plans this weekend in the living room?" or something like that.
Right.
And no, that was a good shot. That was a little shot. Yeah,
all
know you ain't going nowhere, girl. Don't put yourself in danger.
Right.
Stay at home. I feel you.
Right. So some little pandemic joke, and then we started DMing. We started FaceTiming for 2 weeks. Like 3 hours a day, and then eventually met in person. But my intention was, it was kind of like for fun, but I also was like, if I'm going to date someone, I want to date for marriage. Like I knew that was what I wanted. I was really intentional about that. And so that's where I was. I think you're in a little bit of a different place in terms of your intentions.
The total opposite. I got on Hinge because, like she said, the world was closed, and I just wanted just a club atmosphere. How can I, meet
move and shake.
How can I move and shake? How can I meet people? How can I go on dates or whatever it may be? And so I got on there with the intentions of just having fun, and not really leading anybody on, like being honest, be like, look, I'm just, if you want to, if we can find something to do, if you can go on a date, let's do it. outside is open other places. Like, if you want to travel with me, we can do that. And doing it with people that I felt like had similar values as me, but like definitely just being outside. And so I matched with her, and I knew it was going to work because the first time we met, she met me, and I didn't have a haircut in like 6
Oh, she texted me.
I was bringing up the haircut. Listen.
Six weeks.
I'm secure enough as a man to say that my brother's a handsome guy. I'm 100%. But the photo that I saw during the pandemic, I said, Jessica, look, you sure? You sure it's the guy? No, he looked like a criminal. Like he looked like
I look like Tom Hanks from Castaway. Like I'm talking about.
He looked like one of the Tyler Perry villain characters.
Yeah, no, he did.
Like,
it was crazy. His hair, it did look crazy.
She texted me. She was like, I think he's kind of cute. I was
Underneath
like,
that.
I said, I could see
it. Had to be like 2 months, I think, without a haircut.
I was like, I see the potential.
Hair, nothing like a good haircut, let me tell you. And so we kicked it off so well, and it was organic. Yeah. And I let her continue telling her side of the story, but like for me, it was just good as friends, you know. And she wanted it to move a lot faster than I wanted it to move. And it eventually got to the point where she was like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know. I understand you being honest. You telling me like, hey, you want to go on dates with other people, but I don't know if I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just not where I want to be to completely just
commit myself.
Be out the game. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember it was like after like 3 months, I felt like we both were like feeling like if we continue on this path, then I would want to be in a relationship. Especially because during the pandemic, things moved so fast because you have so much free time.
It was like college.
Yeah. That's what we say. It was like college.
Like college.
Yeah. So we were just hanging out for hours and hours and like, days at a time. So it felt like we knew each other, and we did know each other more than you would in the
normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you only see each other maybe once every other week.
Exactly. People are traveling, like people are
working.
Everything. So I felt ready. And I remember me and you were texting.
I was going to say, I was deep in it. I know you didn't know me that well at that point, man. But I was.
She was the ops coach. Don't give her no more hugs, no more Christmas gifts.
She was one of the influencers that said, I think you should cut him off.
But that's what she did to me.
Wow.
That's what she did to me after 3 months of dating.
My stance, and it works. Ladies,
it does work.
My stance works. Where's my camera, Orlando? Here. Ladies, if you are dating a man and he is wishy-washy, let him be wishy-washy by himself without you. I promise you, if it's meant to be, he will spin the block. Nothing will make a man come back to you faster than leaving his ass alone. Charles tried to play. I said,
"This is bad advice."
Focus on yourself, kids, please.
Focus on yourself, queen. It's great advice, and I wasn't. Okay. Listen, I'm gonna support my friends in whatever they want to do. So Jess was kind of back and forth, and I'm like, yo, you take a step back. Like, he's saying that he needs to figure out if he needs, whatever time he needs to figure out if he wants to be with you. That's okay. Yeah. But it's also okay for you to protect your heart and say, like, okay, well, then I'm going to take a step back while you figure out whatever you need to figure out. I'm a true believer. If something is meant to be, if someone wants to be with you, they will come back to you, period. And if they don't want to be with you, then it wasn't meant to be.
But before we pivot, like, that was so honorable of you as, like, the male friend of yours. Like, we know ninjas who could just be scumbag. He could tell you what you want to hear.
For sure.
Just be doing whatever.
That actually was something that
But he was like, hey, like, I would rather take the break or whatever to figure my stuff out than lead you on. And so that was actually very admirable for y'all to even have that approach that early in y'all's situation.
I think that actually is something that, like, I always remembered. I was like, okay, he's not playing games. It's just he's not on my timeline, really, honestly. And I think even as women, a lot of us won't admit that. Like, sometimes it's just, women, we just want this fairy tale relationship. We want to meet someone, date, engage, married.
Fall in love.
Exactly. And that's just where he wasn't there in his life.
And granted, I was coming out of a relationship. I had a young child. And, she wanted all those things. She wanted children. She wanted to be married. And she had maybe a timeline in her own head. I think you was 28 when I met you.
Yeah, and naturally I feel like women around that age are like, okay, my biological clock, we got to get married, engaged. We have about a few years until I'm in my 30s.
Like, do you know you have 20 minutes?
Right.
Sure. Exactly. So I'm like, I understood and I appreciated her honesty, but at the end of the day, I'm like, look, I know if we just jump into this, it's not going to end well. Because we haven't even laid a foundation to things that we like and don't like about each other. Like expectations that we're going to hold for each other. Because that was another thing, you know, I think what's so great about our marriage. And people are like, how is marriage? I'm like, well, we laid the foundation.
We did,
well before we ever got married. So there's no real surprises when situations happen in our life and disagreements happen because we understand how to solve them. Because we're going to argue, but how do you get back together after the argument?
But I think even in hearing the story, the baseline is that you guys were communicating with each other, right? Like you weren't living your life telling her one thing and she wasn't living her life telling you one thing. Like you were being very transparent about I want marriage, babies, and that whole nine. And you were transparent about like, that's cool. I don't know if I can give that to you right now. And I think both of those are okay. I think sometimes women go into it and they're so scared to say oh, I want to be married. It's like, nah, sis, say it with your chest. Like, I want to get married.
Upset when they don't get what they want, but it's like, you never said what you wanted, you know?
Yeah, so I love that y'all went into it, like, open communication. So, Crow, for you, what shifted to make you spin the block?
Well, you know, for me, it's like, when I thought about who I wanted to spend my time with, it was her. It can be that simple for men, you know? For men, it's like, who do I have the most fun around? Who do I enjoy to be around? Who do I enjoy to argue with? It was her. And so, you know, naturally, we found our way back together, and I thank God for that.
I was very happy for that.
And I thank God for that. But, you know, what was so nice about her is when we did get back together, she was like, we don't have to have a baby tomorrow. Just let's build to something. And so, you know, and let's build to something without having other people involved. She's mostly talking to me. And so I was able to do that. And it just naturally, we just continued to build. And the more I built with her, the less I worried about, you know, what I left behind.
Because you were occupied and you know what I mean? And y'all had so much good in your lives. Which, you know, at that time was like MJ. And you stepping into the role, obviously, once you all got married, as a bonus mom. And that was like super important to me because she wouldn't even use the word step, but I had a stepmom when I think my dad and stepmom got together when I was about 6, 7.
Yeah,
so
and
literally,
MJ was 3.5.
Yeah, most of
when
my 3.5, so even younger. So most of my adult life, this other person has been a part of it. And when you get older, like sometimes, you know, that step word or the way in which you all operate can create some type of break in terms of relationship. But we were so connected. My stepmom was like my second mom. Like she wouldn't even use the word step, to the point where people at church, because she was younger and looked younger, they were like, girl, you have a baby? And he was like 12? Because she was like, these are my sons. And we big. We like neutron kids, too. And so we go into the church, they're like, oh, we got to put extra oil on her. She was out here like she's 13.
Teenage mom.
You know what I'm saying? Teenage mom. But she took that on the chin primarily because she wanted us to feel connected to our younger siblings. And her children are literally my little brother and sister. Now, that's my but no, that is my brother.
For sure.
And that is my sister. And so a lot of that was her and her doing it. So what was your approach? Obviously, first when you just had MJ in your life, and then obviously bringing in Kendall as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I first met him, it definitely took some time. You know, and I think you guys all know, like when I first met him, he definitely had a wall up. He's very.
You're talking about MJ.
MJ.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I don't know if I said that, but yeah. You know, MJ's really smart. I think all kids are, but he was really intuitive and knew, like, okay, this is a new woman in my dad's life. Like, am I allowed to love her? You know, like, am I allowed?
Can I like her?
Exactly. And so he had that kind of, you know, wall up for a while. And I would say even at first it was kind of hard for me because I'm so used to, like, you know, having my nieces and nephews and even CJ and Carter, like, you know, I just like, oh, all kids love me, you know, versus with him, I kind of had to work at it and like, you know, be patient. So it took some time of just like, you know, getting to know him, like bonding with him, playing with him and stuff. But now it's like, you know, it does definitely feel like we're a family, especially with Kendall. The same thing. Yeah. Like that's his sister, not his half sister, not his stepsister. He's actually crazy about her.
I see him all up in the crib. I'm
like, MJ. Oh, no, literally in her crib.
I'm like, you don't get your big butt out that crib.
No, literally, like, if it's time for her to go to sleep, he's like, oh, no. He's like, I'm taking her, like, my baby, you know? Like, so I feel like that part has blended really well, for sure.
I mean, absolutely. I think, for one, it was tough for her because since I had my son so much, it was a situation where she had to come and she had to adjust to my schedule. I mean, me adjusting to her schedule. So she did a great job of just kind of seamlessly and being patient because I know initially she probably just wanted to come in and him to have just hug her and love her right away. And naturally, that just didn't happen. But now we're at a point where I feel like sometimes she's more comfortable coming to her than he is to me. And just because he knows that he can trust her as a parent and wherever that role may be. And I
think kind of like just that feminine energy in the house, you know, like sometimes it's easier to talk to me, you know, and I'll relay the message. I'm like, okay, I understand what you're trying to say, you know, especially because them two, they're like the same person too. They're both a little like hard-headed with each other. And MJ, like he's very vocal with how he feels. So they'll butt heads sometimes, and I'll be the mediator.
Love.
I think when y'all started dating, that was one thing I really loved about you, Marcus. Like, I come from a broken home. I'm not really close to my father, so I love that you as a father was so intentional about like making time with your son to the point where like when you guys were dating, it was like, oh, we're not seeing, she'd come by herself. I'm like, he has MJ. She's like, yeah. Marcus has MJ this weekend, so I'll see him in a few days. And I was like,
I was like half the time.
Yeah, I was like, I love that you're like, yo, I gotta miss the outside event because like this is my priority.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I was like, I think that's so important. And you, to me, were setting the groundwork. I'm like, well, you know, he's going to be a great father. Like,
exactly. No, that's literally what I was saying. Because at first, I didn't even really want to date someone with kids. Because I was like, you know, just comes with. He's not joking. He's crazy. But anyways, because, you know, it's just obviously like relationships are hard as it is without kids. So then you know, add in a kid and co-parenting and scheduling. And so, you know, selfishly, I was like, I don't want to deal with anything extra. But seeing him as a father was like actually what drew me to him more. Because I was like, okay, he'll be a great father to our kids. So that's kind of like, you know.
Yeah, so all y'all out there that, you know, looking for a good father, give him about 10 more years.
I will. You want to fight on?
I don't want to be.
You want to fight on Beyonce's internet?
Crazy.
We're having a good time.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, I gotta get one or two off. Okay, keep going.
So I think so. You touched on it a little bit with your stepmom, and I'll touch on it with you, Jess. Like I always say, I'm like, I think being a step parent is a tough job because like you are parenting, but you're not the parent.
Exactly. Exactly.
Period.
Yeah.
So like, how do you deal with like this kind of in-betweenness, right? Like you're in between, like you're having a hand in raising, but you also have to like take a step back some days and be like, okay, I gotta let his parents.
Yeah, I also would say, I'll also add to that, and I'm gonna let Jess speak though, but I'm gonna say being a woman and being a stepmom, I feel like it's so much extra pressure because you're not his mother and you're not his biological mother, and I think biological mothers, you know, are very much like, that is my son, that is my child, that is my daughter, whatever it may be, and rightfully so. Yeah. And you got to make sure that you know, you have your imprint on them as a parent, but also, you know, have that respect to be like, okay, like I don't want to overdo it. And you know, she has to straddle that line all the time, and you know, and it's a tough job.
No, for sure. So at first it was definitely hard because, you don't really know what your role is. All of us, but especially me as a stepmom, it's my first time ever being a stepmom, and most step parents, it's their first time. And there's not even, I was even like Googling and looking for books. Like, are there any books? Like, there's books on parenting.
They should write some.
I know. Like, there's books on parenting, there's books on marriage, but there's no books on step parenting, and it's actually really, really hard. And I will say that. And especially something I realized now that I have Kendall, I think one of the hardest parts is that, like, when you have a baby, there truly is like that mother nature that comes in, you know, and it's just like easy because that's just like what you're born to do and meant to do as a woman. And so as a step parent, like you don't have that, you know? So I just had to really just learn as I went, you know, like I made some mistakes, you know, for sure. And things that, you know, I regretted and had to apologize for to whoever, you know, to MJ, whatever, or to Marcus if I made a mistake. But I just learned as I went. And I think now, it's been like 4 years now since I met him. I've just learned to just kind of follow MJ's lead, you know? And so, there'll even be times that he might be like extremely affectionate. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting that, you know? Like, I'm like, wow, like MJ just came up to me, like, you know, give me a little kiss on the cheek. I'm like, what? Because again, I was so used to our guard up, but I think that's just from like letting him lead and like letting him like kind of just take the lead on our, you know, relationship and whatever that looks like. And that has been really helpful.
Yeah. Before we pivot out of this, like, letting him lead is the right call. I recall in like my growth, I was very close to my dad. And then I didn't even know what to like call this woman. You know what I mean? Because I had so much respect and deference for my mama.
For sure.
And one day she was like, I wanted something from her. I wanted an oatmeal cream pie, which is my favorite snack growing up. And I went in the kitchen, and I'm still a very pleasant, respectable guy. I said, may I have an oatmeal cream pie? And I would just try and make eye contact with her so I didn't have to acknowledge her. This day she was on one. This day she chose to be on one. And she's like, what's my name? And now you got a decision to make. You could be like Miss Rebecca, or the person your dad's dating, auntie. You call her Auntie Rebecca. Right. But I'm like, we were still trying to figure out. They were married. They were already married. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? And so instead of saying something that was either disrespectful or accepting the change and the shift in the new family, I just said, I want an oatmeal cream pie. Fuck your oatmeal cream pie. I'm moving on my life. I
don't want it.
I said, I don't want it. Why are you looking like that?
Because you didn't know what to call it.
Because I broke her heart that day. I really broke her heart that day. She was really, really sad about it. She didn't show me. She told I knew later in life she went and was sad with my dad. But I stood on business. First of all, shout out me for respecting my boundaries. For respecting my personal boundaries at that time. I'm bringing it back home. But over time, she earned my respect and earned my love and became my third parent in this, you know what I mean, situation. Sure. So I think that you are handling this absolutely the right way. It's not a quick fix, you know what I mean? Like, you can't be like, I'm here now.
Right. Like, call me mom, you can't do that.
Exactly, no, for sure. And he just calls me Jess, and that works with me.
And I think for MJ, like, when he seen us get married, and he was a part of our wedding, and
and you were very intentional about involving
him
in every step.
Yeah. And I think when we got out of that, when we came back home, and he's like, well, my last name's Cromartie, my dad's last name is Cromartie, Jess's last name is Cromartie. Like, we're a family. And I think it kind of clicked for him, and he is very smart.
He is. I'm telling you, like, that summer, we both noticed like a shift in him where he was just seemed like, more comfortable and just felt like we were all a family together. Absolutely. And I definitely think the wedding was one of the reasons why.
Y'all answered my question, because my next question was, at what moment did you say, oh, wow, we're actually a family?
Yeah, no, for sure. That was definitely the moment, for sure. And I think him just like seeing our union, even again, he's so young. I think just as a kid, it's like, okay, like they're married now. Like this means like, these are, my family.
This is forever, for sure.
So, Jess, you have, just like Charles said, we have seen you in so many eras of your life. And as you stepped into full-time motherhood with Kendall, I remember I told you, I was like, having your own baby is going to be different because that's your baby.
Yeah. And every day, too. Because half the time.
Yeah, I was like, every day.
On our trips on the weekend.
Right.
How has that transition been? And I'm going to direct this question to you, because I feel like motherhood affects mothers more than it affects dads. Like,
absolutely.
I always say, the day we pee on that stick, our life changes.
For sure.
Like, the simplest way to put it.
Yeah, change your diet, everything that day.
Everything changes. Whereas men, like, their life kind of goes on regardless. We're breastfeed, like, so much changes for us. So, like, how has that change been for you? And, like, how have you not lost yourself in motherhood?
Yeah. So at first I didn't realize now until looking back, I think I was a little anxious like before I gave birth and like the first 6 weeks because there's so many people, not really like my friends and family, but I just feel like strangers or acquaintances or the internet that says like, the first few months are so hard. You're never going to sleep. It's like miserable. You're in the trenches and it affects your marriage. So I was kind of like expecting that, but God blessed us with honestly such an easy baby. Like Kendall has been like, she's given us no problems.
That's
like
my girl. That's my girl.
She's amazing. Like I've had maybe like 4 or 5 really bad nights, but for the most part, like I was never crazy sleep deprived or anything. So honestly, I feel like I transitioned really well. And I think also having a baby older, I don't know if everyone's saying this, but like at 32 at the time, instead of like in your early 20s, you're kind of just like super ready. Like I feel like I lived my life. I've traveled to tons of countries and stuff.
She's being too humble. This girl gave birth in our living room.
Literally.
She gave birth
insane.
In our living room. No medication.
Yeah, I was like, no meds, no nothing.
I seen her pull the baby out and put it on her chest. I said, you know what?
Jess is different.
She different.
The video of you pulling her out and looking at her and crying, I was like, oh wow. I had C-section, y'all, so I didn't experience this.
We was in bed 30 minutes later.
In our own bed.
In our own bed.
That was I got cover for that. Superwoman stuff.
Thank you. That was a beautiful experience.
And you had a vision for your birth, right?
I did. I did.
You came and you were like, "Yep, I don't want to do conventional. I want to do it at home,
in
my living room, in a pool."
Yeah.
And you kind of made your plan, and it worked out. You stuck with it. So I think. And then obviously we've seen your content evolve into now like less outside, more.
Yeah, no choice but to be inside. And then 2 kids.
Marcus, how has it been for you second time around? Obviously it's different now because you have MJ, but now you're with your wife. You all have this unit. So how has it been dadding second time around?
Oh, it's been amazing. So much more experience. One thing I told her going into this, I was like, look, the main thing when having kids, and I tell this to all first-time parents, the main thing when having kids is to be patient with each other because you're not going to be the same person, and I'm not going to be the same person. And to understand that you was raised by 2 different set of parents, and I was raised by 2 different set of parents, and we see situations differently. And to just communicate and understand that, for first-time parents, if this is your first time having a kid, this is my first time having a kid, and just to be patient with each other, to let her know that I supported her, and that if there was something that needed to be done, then we can talk about it. And I just think having those boundaries and not just, seeing something she's doing or seeing something I'm doing and getting mad, just think about it like, okay, well, he's probably doing this because it is this and that. And so just having that mindset, it's been 10 times better. And we talked about it. Like we had premarital counsel where we talked about just like the expectations of her from me, because I think that's important too. What do you want me to do? Because like you said, it is a woman do have like more, responsibility when it comes to raising babies. And so, what do you expect from me? Do you want me to help you with the nighttime shift? Is it something, or can I just, do the mornings? Or, can I have this type of flexibility here? And like just having those conversations beforehand, so when she did have the baby and I wasn't up at 12 a.m. with her, she's not getting upset with me because we already talked about it. And so I just think those boundaries, and we set those like provisions beforehand, so nothing really changed other than just having somebody else to love.
And I will say too, and I know you guys will back me up on this, getting her sleep trained at 5 months.
Come on.
I think
got to get right to it.
Yes. I'm a big believer.
Big believer. And it's not always, we didn't have her cry out for like hours and hours. There's different methods or whatever. But I would say that is super important for, like you said, not losing yourself. You said, how did I not lose myself? That's one of the ways, because I'm able to get up in the morning before she wakes up. And she's sleeping for 12 hours. I can sleep for like 7 hours, work out, do all my beauty routine, everything. And since you're not sleep deprived, like your relationship is better.
I get her the whole night. And that's a big deal.
Yeah, the baby goes down at 7:30. We have our whole night together.
We have a whole night. And, I was telling her, I was like, we're going to do better. We're going to be better parents if we put each other first. And we don't put our kids first. We put each other first. And then that carries over into our kids. Does that mean that we neglect our kids? No. It just means that we understand that at the end of the day, my plan for my son is that he go find his own wife. My plan for my daughter is that some man finds her and makes her his wife. And so at the end of the day, it's going to just be us. And so, we pour into each other, and we make sure that we're fully yoked, and then we're fully yoked into, our word and everything else. And that's going to pour into our kids.
For sure.
Wow. Wow. I've never been out podcast.
Y'all
on podcast before.
Y'all were in here dropping gems.
Come on, man.
Orlando, you might got a new client.
Hey, look, I'm starting the dad's group.
But no, before we get out of here, like when they first got together was when me and Shireen was having our roughest time. It was during the pandemic, and y'all obviously know these stories. And again, like the pre-communication stuff we were dealing with CJ and the changes of managing our first child together, our personality, me having a business while working. And then they invited us on a trip because they had a friend drop out on a trip last minute. It was like, hey, y'all can go. It's already paid for. Just get your flights. And I was actually even scared to tell Shireen, because I'm like, she normally says no. It's like, no, not in that way. Not in that way. You were asking fair questions. To me, at that time, that's what it sounded like. I just thought you were just a mean person, but you were like, the brunt of the responsibility. You just get to say yes to go, but you don't have a plan for our child. You understand what I'm saying? So in my maturation, I see it differently. But in that time, I was like, But I told her about the trip, and she was like, well, if you find a plan,
well,
I would let you go. I came with the plan. I came with the plan. I talked to my mom to see if she could fly in and watch CJ, and I was like, she's still gonna say no.
But this trip was like 2 days before.
It was 2 days before. Yeah. And so I planned it. I talked to my mom. I talked to Shireen about it, and to my surprise, she said yes. And we went on that trip. And in my humble opinion, that trip is what started us getting on a better situation and saving our marriage. Yeah, I think it just, that energy, we compounded, we started therapy, and it was really like a turning point for us. So that's amazing. I just want to say thank you to y'all. Y'all union is saving other unions.
Yes.
You're still ugly. He's still ugly. Look at him smiling.
Come on now. Saving marriages. One family at a time, baby.
We love y'all.
We love you guys.
Podcast episode 31.
Thank you so much for having us.
Jessica and Marcus Cromartie, y'all. We out.